YouTube, it's different, like it behaves differently, and I just don't know what's going on. So that was the time now as well. But guys, I'm live. Thank you very much for joining the live stream or for watching the recording. Today is another Q&A session where you can ask me anything about immigration to the Czech Republic, living here, getting a visa, extending it, or finding accommodation, starting a business, getting health insurance, everything in these regards. You can ask personal questions as well, but why waste the time? And I just needed to put a bit more light there. And I'll be here for another 20 minutes. So let's say 21:50, so 19 minutes, because usually I go to sleep at 10-ish. And I'm still in the office, so I'll just like finish at 9:50. I will go home. So use the time, guys. Use it wisely. Any questions regarding Czech immigration are welcome, or Czech life. We've recently written or moved to Prague an article about the average salary in the Czech Republic and if it's enough or not to live here and what kind of salary you should be looking at. When you're moving here, if you are willing to accept a position or not. And I have a video about this also a couple of weeks back, or maybe like last week, a couple of videos back, I mean. So you can ask questions about that as well. Like anything related to the Czech Republic, moving here or living here is welcome. And as long as I will know the answers, I'll be happy to provide them. But one of the main prerequisites for that is that someone needs to ask the questions, because if there are no questions, there are no answers. Muzamil Ahmed, hello Jan, I hope you're doing good. My question is about long-term visa for family reunification purpose. Kindly give me the basic information about it. My wife is from Czech, I'm from Pakistan. Muzamil, I believe we will speak together soon. But yeah, well, if you have an EU family member, then it's not family reunification. Family reunification is only meant for couples where both of you are non-EU citizens. So if you're from Pakistan and your wife was from Pakistan, then that would be family reunification. In this case, it's a temporary residence permit for family members of EU citizens. And that's very important. I'm kind of like very strict about like terminology. So I don't really like saying visa and meaning like residence permit, because there are like very significant differences in basically everything between, for example, the family reunification and the temporary residence permit. The main difference is that for the temporary residence permit, you can only apply in the Czech Republic. You cannot apply through an embassy. So you will first need to get here using some kind of short-term visa, and then you submit your application in the Czech Republic at the Ministry of the Interior. It cannot be applied for through the Czech embassy. So that's the main thing. If you have any specific questions, ask me. But since we will have a detailed consultation later, I think maybe ask me some questions which we will not have the chance to get answered during the consultation. Kwasim Yahuni, is it possible to work in Prague but living in another city because accommodation in Prague is very high? Yeah, the only limitation there is the traveling time. If you travel by the speed of light, you can even live in Brno. But if you travel by České dráhy trains, probably 10 kilometers is like the furthest. They're getting better. I don't want to like be rude to them. Maybe I don't care. Anyway. Whatever, of course you can do that, but it must make sense, especially from the immigration perspective. You cannot live in Brno and work in Prague, because just the traveling time will be the whole work. So that would not work for immigration. But if you like work in Prague, but you live like 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers from there, that's completely fine. Nur Hayati, hi Jan, so what's the average salary then? Just briefly, I missed that topic. So then go to my last video, or like one of the last, it's probably not further than 3 videos back. But I believe the average salary in Prague was 60,000 crowns gross last quarter of last year. Randr Chenesiot. I don't know, já neznаю, что это значит. Говорю по-русски, but not sure. Lamborghini, mluv česky, zdraví. Jo, tak co mám říkat v češtině? Jestli máte nějakou otázku v češtině, tak se klidně ptejte, já vám to vysvětlím i v češtině. Akorát sem většinou Češi přijdou jenom říct, jak mám špatnou angličtinu a hned zase odejdou, takže já to v češtině moc nedělám. Mohammed Imran, sir, I'm Indian, but I'm working in Kuwait. I have paper visa, but I have no appointment slots. Well, if you want to come here to work, like for employment, in India, that will probably not work out because there are no available appointments unless your employer has one. If you are in Kuwait, you want to apply in Kuwait, then you need to be living there for more than 2 years. If you haven't been there for more than 2 years, you cannot get an appointment there either. Lamborghini, I'm in Czech Republic. Yeah. Auto, it's car. That's the pravda. Roblox, zdravím, taky Roblox. Čo? Nečat. Já neznаю už, jak je to сказать, a já nepoнимаю, bude to značit. Что je to značit? Что это значит? Сказайте мне, пожалуйста. Neyat Isler, hi, I might move to Germany for masters. If I do that, will I lose my year count here in Czech for residency permit? Depends on how you do that. If you don't extend your Czech residence permit, then most likely will lose the years you've spent here. If you still keep the Czech residence permit, then you will not lose that. So it depends on how you do that. But if you leave the Czech Republic and you cancel your visa, residence permit, or it expires, then yeah, you lose those years. Ali Polash, hi bro, hi Ali. If you have any question, please ask it as well. Neyat Isler, I meant to write, if I come back later, will I lose my year count? Yeah, well, for the permanent residency, you must keep the continuity of your stay, which means that there can be no gaps in between your visas or residence permits. Of course, if you're waiting for extension, that's fine because you get a bridging visa, stuff like that. But if you leave the Czech Republic for 2 years for masters and you have no residence permit in the Czech Republic, then you come back, then you will be starting over because there is no continuity in your stay. Muzamil Ahmed, lol, thank you for giving me idea for now about what I'm going to apply. Catch up with you soon. Looking forward, Muzamil. I'll provide you with a lot of information. Don't worry during the consultation. Usually people end up with like heads as balloons if they have a consultation with me and they don't stop me in time. Mohammed Imran, thanks sir, my pleasure. So guys, any more questions? If there are no more questions, I'll go home early. That's fine with me. But if there are any questions, feel free to ask. I will be here for another 10 minutes, so I'll be happy to answer them. Yeah, you can see I'm already a bit tired. Because usually I go to sleep at around 10. It doesn't always work like that. I don't always manage to do so. But if I really want to like sleep well, then I don't go later than 10:30 tops. So 12 people watching, no questions asked. That's very weird. Nurhati, what's your favorite park to go to in Prague? I cannot tell you because if I share it, then people will start coming there as well, and I hate people. So, no, there are plenty of beautiful parks. If I should name something, I would definitely not name the parks like Rigrovy Sady and stuff like that. It's like too many people, and like it's not really a park, even it's like a couple trees. But I can definitely recommend the forests. So all the forests, there are so many forests. So Krčský les, the forest around Krč in Prague 4, then also Hostivařská přehrada and around there, and then Prokopské údolí and Divoká šárka. All these kind of valleys and like the big forests where you can go and like not meet anyone. That's what I like. Kinaret, nejat Isler legzeze z social media zebe. Doufám, že I didn't like summon any beasts now, because I have no idea what it is. I mean, it's Turkish probably, but I don't understand what it means. Angela Diana Rose, dobrý den. Please may I ask what is HPP contract and who is applicable to get this contract? HPP is like a full-time employment. Hlavní pracovní poměr. HPP, hlavní pracovní poměr. So like a full-time employment, usually meant for 40 hours. The main type of employment. As for who it is meant for everyone who can work legally in the Czech Republic. So that's kind of a question I cannot really answer much, but usually for those people who are employable in the Czech Republic and who want to work full-time, then the HPP is the way to go. It does not necessarily always need to be 40 hours a week. There are different like variations of that, but HPP generally is like your main employment contract and full-time employment. Kusuma Priya, hello Jan. When I change my studies to combined form, then can I apply for non-dual employee card when I get the job as a foreigner? You can. Question is if to do it or not, like if not to stay under the standard study like regime, because it has some advantages as well. But if you want to do it, you can, but you will ideally need to go the standard way, meaning you advertise the position or your employer advertises the position to the labor office. And definitely, I would definitely, let me put it this way. If you study distantly, you're not a student. So you cannot apply for a non-dual employee card because you don't have free access to the labor market. So if you want to switch to an employee card, you can do that, but you will have to go through the standard process with the job advertisement, vacancy number, and all that. That's my message. Okay. Ali Polash. Hello, bro. I have living in Bahrain almost 9 years. I want to move to Germany. That's great. That's great. The only kind of interesting point there is that I only deal with Czech immigration, so I cannot really comment or provide any advice or anything like that about Germany. Sorry. Gottfried Bosomtve. Sorry for mispronouncing all your names, guys. How do you answer study gaps in your educational life in a study visa interview? These kind of general questions are very difficult for me to answer because it depends on everything else you've said. The most important thing is that your interview makes sense or your story makes sense. If you've been a cook your whole life and now you want to come study here for a doctor, it's kind of weird. And if there is a gap or there is no gap, that will probably make it a bit difficult for you to get the visa. But if you've been a doctor your whole life and now there is a gap because you've been practicing and now you want to study here for a doctor, it might actually make sense because you want to get better education in that. Maybe you figured out that the education you got is not really enough and then you want to try it somewhere else. So it kind of depends on the whole story of your move. It's not like one single question that will like, how do I explain that? But it's about the whole story and if the whole story makes sense. If it does, that increases your chances a lot. If it doesn't, then it decreases your chances a lot. Amit Podel, hello sir, I have a question before and I have. Okay, so hopefully at the end there will be a question. Go for it. Kinaret, Mr. Jan, would a hostel reservation be problem for student visa? Well, it depends what you exactly mean by that. If you mean like a standard hostel, like a hotel where you live with 70 other people, that will not work because first you need physical documents, like meaning with physical signatures, physical stamps. And if you just have some online reservation, then it will not work. Second, it must be signed. The documents must be signed by the owner of the property, which usually no one will sign it for you either. So like a hostel reservation, if you go to booking.com and you just like reserve a room there for the next year, that's not gonna work. But if you meant hostel in terms of like the accommodation, like dormitories, for example, what schools provide, that could potentially work. But like just an online reservation somewhere, nope. Second saint. Who was the first? Who was the first saint? Hello Jan, I'm a non-EU citizen with a permanent residence permit. I just moved to a new accommodation, but for only 60 days. Should I report a change of address to the ministry? Not really. If it's only really for 60 days, you don't have to report it, but when you move to a more permanent solution, you have to. Yeah, if it's shorter than 6 months, you don't have to report it. Angela Diana Rose, I'm 6 months now here and want to change a new employer that will hire me directly. My new employer will hire me for under HPP for 130 hours a month only. I'm Filipino and hold employee card 27. Yeah, HPP is definitely fine for an employee card. 130 hours a month is potentially fine as well, yeah, because you need to have at least 15 hours a week. So 15, 30, 60, so 130 is completely fine. But you need to go through the process of changing employer with the ministry first. But you can do that. Second saint, it said on the ministry website that I'm only obliged to report the change of address if I'm going to reside in the new address for more than 180 days. Yes, I answered that already. Moxin Czech, hi, my work permit coming from Czech Republic application when opening in the embassy. Never. You've been scammed. I'm sorry to tell you that, but most likely 99.9% you've been scammed. And if you get a work permit or whatever, you will hardly get ever any appointment. Angela Diana Rose, 24 people here watching, but only 2 of us who likes the like. Show love for Jan by liking the live. Thank you very much for being on my side, Angela. Amit Podel, I have applied for a long-term visa, family reunification, spouse visa, before it was refused, and then after 4 months again. I have applied for a long-term residence permit, a spouse visa in this January. It's been 4 months now, no response. Why is that, sir? I'm afraid many got their visas who applied at the same time. They got their visa valid affect one same refused, sir, before. Well, the ministry started denying spousal visas, the family reunification visas, in cases where the couple haven't lived together for some time, like a longer period of time, like 2 years, 3 years, something like that. Because if you haven't seen each other for 3 years, for the ministry, it's not really like a real couple, you know, it's not a real marriage. Because if you're married, then you should kind of like live together and like do all the other things married couples do. And if you haven't seen each other for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years even sometimes, then the ministry does not see that as a real marriage, and then they started denying these kind of applications. Not sure if it's your case. There might be other denial reasons, but you should always get a letter from the ministry explaining what is the reason for the denial, and then you can like get some feedback from that and hopefully like make the next application stronger. But of course, the ministry sees all your previous applications, and even though officially past outcomes should not influence the new ones, they obviously see that, and if they see the reasons as well, they might more focus on that as well. So yeah. Angela, I've been your follower from Hong Kong, but mostly I just get to watch a reply, seldom catch live. So that's perfect that you're here today. Thank you for making it. And thank you for being here and asking questions and communicating. Makes the live stream way more interesting. Second saint, does it mean that if I have new accommodation, I will stay there less than 180 days? I will not report the change anymore. Like what if I move again to another flat and stay for 3 months? Well, technically you don't need to report these, but you also need to keep in mind that you should have some address which the ministry can use. Because if they want to like send you some letter, or if they want to like go check on you or something like that, they should know where you live, where they can find you, where to send the letter. Because as of now, they only have the last address which you reported. So if you move 7 times and the ministry meanwhile sends you some letter, you will never get it because you don't live at the address like where you lived 7 move-ins ago. So it's definitely good to have some stable address at the ministry, even though you technically don't need to report those where you live shorter than 6 months, but it still is good to have something real at the ministry. Okay, so wow, so there are so many questions. So the last thing I will answer or comment on or whatever will be Joe Bio, or if it, Joe Blow. I cannot see that, guys. It's too late for my eyes today. So Joe Blow or Joe Bio, and that will be the last question. Then I'm going home and sleep right away. So let's go back. Alfinity, hi Mr. Jan, how's the working permit renewal service that I availed from you? I emailed you asking for update, but Miss Petra replied instead. Yeah, I generally don't work cases anymore. I do these like fun things, like I do live streams, I do sales, but I don't work cases anymore. So if you're working with us and you want to ask me about some of the special specifications of your case, I cannot answer that because I don't follow the cases. It's always one of my colleagues, one of our immigration specialists who are taking care of your case, not me. So I cannot provide any updates about your case because I don't know anything about your case. So that's why Petra answered, because she's responsible for your case. Angela Diana Rose, would I need to change employer? Also, I will need accommodation, which I will need to find. If you can help me find cheaper one around Florence or nearby. New employer is at King's Casino. Not sure if we can help you find something cheap, because I'm not really sure there is still something cheap in Prague for accommodation. But to change an employer, definitely check some of my previous videos or go to our website movetoprague.com to the blog section where we describe the process as well, because it's there is a lot you need to have, but generally your new employer must advertise the position through the labor office. You need to get the vacancy number. Then you need to have a confirmation what's your status with the current job. So if you already quit the job and when, what date, or if you're still there and when you will finish, all that. Then you need to have a new contract from the new employer. Then you need to have confirmation from the new employer that you're meeting all the conditions. And then you need to deliver this to the ministry 30 days before starting your new employment. And at the same time, you cannot be for more than 60 days unemployed. So there are plenty of rules. This was like the brief summary, but it's better if you watch the video specifically about this, or read an article about that, or of course get in touch and we'll be happy to help you with that. Akshay Agarwal, is there a gold card type of thing in the EU? If yes, so how much it costs in dollars? Definitely not in the Czech Republic. We don't have anything like that, the golden visa or investment visa or anything like that. Czech Republic is one of the most complicated countries to get a visa for, in my opinion. There might be similar options in the Czech Republic, but that would be weird countries like Cyprus or like, these kind of countries, which are the EU or Europe, but they are a bit shady. Nothing against Cyprus. I loved it there when I visited, but that's where like all the companies that want to hide something go, and supposedly there are no taxes. So also companies that don't want to pay taxes go there. Again, I'm not saying it's too bad. Sometimes it makes sense, but it's just, and they're full about like online casinos and all the Bitcoin stuff, all that. So maybe in countries like that they have. I believe there is something similar, but not like in the Czech Republic for sure. Second saying, I'm just a little skeptical of the rule because it affects also the address on my bank accounts, health and social insurance, and I will not have access anymore to physical mailbox. Well, what I would do is find some place where you can get registered for a long period of time, like your friend's address, or buy a flat. Even if you're renting it out and you live somewhere else, you will have a stable address, or just like have some stable address which you will have with the ministry forever, and then move as much as you want, because if they send you something, your friend will receive it, they will give it to you. You don't have to change the address all the time everywhere. So find an address which you can use for a longer period of time, even if you move regularly. Kusuma Priya, so as a PhD student, I finished my standard full-time study of 4 years, so I have to change to combined form, but I got the job offer, so I'm only eligible to apply for dual card as I graduate soon. Yeah, generally it's always the safer option, unless you've already graduated, you have the diploma, you get the job seeker residence permit, and then you can switch to a non-dual employee card. But if that's not the case, then we definitely recommend applying for the standard, the dual employee card, because that's safer for you. Whatever happens to your studies, whatever happens to your diploma, if you finish it, you don't finish it, if you study, don't study, then you don't need to worry because you have the standard employee card. So that's definitely like safer for you. Kinaret, actually I paid the tuition for 1 year reservation and they send me a document that says blah blah, company will provide accommodation between these dates, and this document is signed by the staff. If it's from the school, then it's fine usually, because they have a system how to deal with that. They do it the same way for all the students, and the Ministry of the Interior has some documents from the school in their system, so that can actually work. So if it's provided by the school, it will most likely be fine. If it was provided by someone else, that might be questionable. But I would need to see the documents to be able to confirm 100%. And now the last thing, as I mentioned, Joe Blow or Joe Bio, Joe Biden. Sorry, I mispronounced it. I'm just messing with everyone. I'm in a jovial mood right now. So the last question: with the digital nomad visa, I heard it can be converted to a temporary residence permit and at some point be eligible to apply for permanent residency. Is this correct? So again, the terminology. Temporary residence permit is only if you're married or you're dating an EU citizen. So if you get the digital nomad visa, then you get a Czech wife or Czech husband, then you can switch to a temporary residence permit. That's fine. If you meant that you can switch to a long-term residence permit, so you come here under the digital nomad visa, and then you want to stay longer, and then you apply for a long-term residence permit as a digital nomad, not as a family member of an EU citizen, then that's possible as well. Now it's the first time we're doing it because the digital nomad program was introduced slightly over 1 year ago, or maybe now more actually. But anyway, when people got their first visa, now we're in the period that we're applying for the first residence permits. So as of now, it's possible. It should be also possible to keep renewing it, and potentially you could also get the permanent residence permit. But we'll see, because it's still a new program. Maybe that will be changed for better, for worse. Maybe they will cancel it completely. We'll see when the law changes what it brings, but yes, it's possible. Alfinity, kindly reply to my email if you have time. If there was something else than asking me about the status of your application, I will be happy to answer it. But if there was just a question about status of your application, then Petra can answer it better because she's the one responsible for your case. I don't work cases, I don't follow cases, so I cannot tell you more than Petra did about your specific case. If there was some other question, or if you send me some additional email afterwards, then of course I'll be happy to answer. Okay, guys, so thank you very much for being here today. Again, it's 20 minutes, it's again 31 minutes, but they were good questions. I had fun with you guys today. Hopefully you had fun as well, and you also got your questions answered. And I will see you again Monday, Thursday, until the end of the world. Good night.